in its political ambitions. And Zelensky has actually been used by the West. We noted the publications in the British mass media about the intentions of Prime Minister of Great Britain Keir Starmer and French President Emmanuel Macron to try to convince the incumbent President of the United States, Joe Biden, to authorize Kiev to attack Russia with Storm Shadow missiles before the inauguration of Donald Trump. Mass media wrote that London has hopes that the White House will finally approve such step. At the same very day, in his interview to one of the French media, the French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu stated that they have signed a decree that will provide the armed forces of Ukraine with at least 10 Scalp long-range missiles, with which, as they hope in Paris, Kiev will finally be able to strike Russia beyond the front line. With these publications coincided with the information that emerged in Ukrainian social media that Zelensky's regime intends to pass off Western missiles as Ukrainian-made products by changing its labels so that later they could attack Russia with them. It is hardly possible that such trickery can take place without the authorization of real hosts and patrons of the Kiev junta. Would like to remind Washington, London, Paris and Brussels that they continue to play with fire. President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has clearly outlined how we'll respond if Ukraine is authorized to carry out such attacks, because we will qualify it as NATO's entry into direct military conflict with Russia. It will change the essence of the conflict and its nature, with all the ensuing consequences and response to the use of Western systems against the territory of our country will be imminent and devastating. These facts have once again confirmed that the objectives of the special military operation to denazify and demilitarize Ukraine and to eliminate threats emanating from its territory hold true. So, since we are talking about the dialogue and the realizations, and now let's talk about the essence of the dialogue. In the West, as you know, the West has repeatedly expressed its outrage when we have launched criminal investigations against journalists of foreign mass media when they enter Russia without obtaining the necessary visas. But they are so outraged as if their journalists are not bound by the applicable legislation of the country where they work.
Yes, indeed. We are also obliged to watch their reports as well in the territory of Russia, read their articles, follow their materials in the social networks. This is a part of our work. And in their materials, they justified the aggression of Ukrainian forces. So they never show the Russian prisoners of war, and they will never show the desecration of the monuments of those perished during the World War II. They will never tell about the Valdas Bartkevičius. This is the Lithuanian activists from the Friends of Russia, Friends of Ukraine. So he favors a complete ban on Russian language and culture in his country and in other European countries. Last December, he desecrated a monument to the poet Alexander Pushkin in Vilnius. So this is the much suffering poet. In March this year, he publicly justified the terrorist attack in Krakow City Hall and brought a bucket of feces to spontaneously establish memorial to the victims of the terrorist attacks at Krakow City Hall outside the Russian embassy in Vilnius. It would be more correct to call him a right-wing extremist. Now it's very hard for me to pronounce to say this. It's just a pain, big pain. Now he desecrated the memorial to the fallen Soviet soldier in the village of Kazachaya Lokhnya in the Kursk region. Probably I have to say how he did it. Because of the monstrous act, he has just urinated on the memorial, not just in the vicinity close to the memorial, it's just directly on the tombs of those people who liberated the European countries from Nazis. Does anyone else think that the aims of the special military operation, denazification, demilitarization in Ukraine are made up in gracious abstraction? The Western mainstream pretends that there are no neo-Nazis from all over Europe and from all over the world who were sent by the Western countries to Ukraine. There is nobody against whom our country has a noble cause to fight against, especially to protect those who died during the World War liberating the European countries. Now, these Nazis do exist, and they have come to our country, to our land. They desecrate the graves of our heroes, and not only our heroes. We looked in the memory book of Sichuan district, who is buried on the desecrated memorial. 68 soldiers, all are known. In addition to natives of Russian regions, Moscow, Khabarovsk, Sverdlovsk, Yaroslav, Kursk regions, Krasnoyarsk, Stavropol, Krasnodar territories, Gorky, Tambov, Belgorod, Kirov, Irkutsk, Ryazan regions, Tatar, Chuvash republics, Lugansk. There are also soldiers from Uzbekistan, Asanov, Khamankul, Tajiv, Tursun, Kazakhstan, Baymakhatov, Jizhak, Kyrgyzstan, Borisenko, Pyotr Kononovich, Azerbaijan, Junior Lieutenant Jainalov, Jamir Jabalovich, and the same Ukraine, Partisan Kulesh, Mikhail Filipovich, Nezdai Myshenko, Vasily Dmitrovich, Neimbay Vasily Markovich. So, this is the face of Kiev regime, the face of the West, which is sponsoring the Kiev regime, and any organizations from the world outside, from NATO member states or from other countries like United States, Canada, which stand for cherishing the memory of the heroes of the Second World War, and which are acting to protect Holocaust victims. So any one of these organizations have ever volunteered to say something, and this is one of the thousands crimes for desecration committed by the Kiev regime. We are talking about thousands of monstrous acts. A lot of tombs, stones have been removed, painted with red paint, and just how many tombs were destroyed and moved under the false pretext, and no one said anything. And how can we put aside the memory of those victims of the World War II and those heroes who made it possible to liberate the survivors, those people who were not killed or survived? Can we divide this memory from these memories? Not, of course, but still this is what we see. And I believe the punishment just reach these desecrators of the memorials. We are waiting for the international response. We will talk about this at any international event. And the results of voting on the draft resolution against the glorification of Nazism in the United Nations testify to the shrinking space of neo-Nazism in the world. The borders of their reservation already coincide with the borrow's blossoming garden, and soon only brown plants will be left in it. Talking about the voting in the United Nations, we published the detailed results of this voting on our website. Now on the situation in Moldova, I will tell you how the, not people but regime, just sneaked to the power. They just voted for this resolution. We continue to follow the situation in Moldova. We see, as independent experts point out, the inconclusive results of the recent presidential elections and the referendum on EU membership have become not an incentive for the Moldovan authorities, and the entire electoral processes are turning not into the matter to rethink about the future of the country, but rather an aggressive promotion of the thesis about non-existent Russian threat. On November this year, during a visit to Moldovan Foreign Ministry, Russian Ambassador Oleg Ozarev has handed a note of protest against Russia's alleged interference of Moldova's electoral process with an aim of distorting these results. Claiming that Russia allegedly launched 2 unmanned aerial vehicles on November 10th this year in Kasheni and Rusheni districts. We already commented on this on November 11th. No evidence was presented by the ruling regime, and it's not possible because there are no absolutely evidence on that, and obviously there will be none. Such tactics fully correspond to the behavior of the Western curators or handlers of the Moldovan authorities. It is in the West that they are accustomed to make an accusation in a style of highly likely. We firmly reject the unsubstantiated accusations by official Chisinau. The real background is very clear. This is done in order to justify the forced conversion or transfer of Moldova to so-called European standards. In fact, this is just European rails going to abysm. Their real essence consists in suppression of democracy and freedom of speech, militarization of the country. On November 6, criminal proceedings against main electoral rival of Maia Sandu, former Moldovan prosecutor Alexandru Stoyanoglu. On November 10th, the leadership of Moldovan police admitted to the pro-government media that thousands of people were under special surveillance. I just would like to remind you that similar pre-electoral stories or tactics, like in the United States, for example, just in fact led to serious consequences like Watergate, taping, and so on. But at that time it was recognized as the violation of human rights with the specific conclusions drawn, and today it is regarded as a normal situation by the Western countries, ignoring this fact. It's not a big deal. Sandu's regime just tapped what the political rivals or opponents were saying. It's a normal case. So Moldova's pulling towards NATO continues. Lithuania claimed to provide military tactical assistance, and the allocation of up to 2 million euros annually for a period of next 2 years. On October 31st, the Moldovan and Norwegian defense ministers signed an agreement on intention to strengthen defense partnership, as well as development of the programs to strengthen Moldova's defense capabilities. The same document was signed with Sweden on November 6. Moldova approved the start of negotiations with on a cooperation agreement with German and Danish. And what is the basis from the ideology point of view on which it is done? I will explain. On November 11th, Moldova was among the countries that voted against the UNGA resolution initiated by Russia on combating the glorification of Nazis. This is the basis for that, not anything else. This position of Moldovan authorities is no longer surprising. It is with the approval that the working on whitewashing the Third Reich collaborators in Moldova is in full swing. Last October, in Leova district, a memorial cross was erected with military honors, and 12 graves were landscaped at the place of death in 1941. Probably you can guess that we are talking about the heroes who would like to save their region from enemies. No, two Romanian soldiers who invaded the USSR in the phalanxes of Hitler's ally. And now they have the memorial, having the memorial crosses. On November 11th, another cemetery of Romanian heroes who died for the liberation of Bessarabia in July 1941 in Ciuciule, Glodeni district was opened. It's obvious that the purpose of this disastrous course, which the West is now imposing on Moldova, is to bring a deep split into Moldovan society, to divide and weaken in order to use it for the geopolitical issues. Fortunately, the outcome or impact of these actions is the opposite. The pressure of the West and the mockery of historical memory is rejected by Moldovans who consolidate to defend the sovereignty of their country. And they tune to cooperation with Russia, a proven friend and partner. We have always been and we will remain for the Moldovan people. Now I would like to turn to draw your attention. We were asked to comment on what is going on the attempts in the Baltics to block or isolate our country in the context of unprecedented increase in military and political tension in Europe, sanctions, pressure on Russia, traditional mechanism and multilateral cooperation. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs continues its systematic work in the Baltic Sea region. We consider the reckless course of Western countries to curtail essentially any cooperation with Russia in the economic, political, humanitarian, and environmental spheres to be unpromising. No matter how much some so-called experts may wish it, even after Finland and Sweden joined the NATO, the Baltic Sea region will not turn into the internal body of water of NATO. It will always be a common space for all countries in the region. We will continue to systematically defend our national interest in the Baltic Sea and build our cooperation with responsible partners. Such cooperation is being established in particular through international scientific discussion platform Baltic Platform, which is established the initiative of Russia to develop its region. And my favorite, white helmets. This is the structure which is called in the West, depicted as a humanitarian organization. It's not just a handy organization, it's a part. It was generated by the special forces of the United States so that to implement their activities, including the criminal one, in the territory of other countries. And please, here we come, they celebrate the birthday, the 10th anniversary of creation of White Helmets on October 25th. The Foreign Office published the official statement signed by other structures. From a formal point of view, they have never been regarded or claimed that this is a humanitarian organization. Canada, Germany, Qatar, and the United States, now they congratulated this organization on their birthday. I just would like to look back and remind you of the White Helmets. After what they committed in the territory of Syria, turning the sufferings of these people into cheap PR actions, London is never trying to shy this organization, but they depict them as courageous and committed humanitarian workers. So the whole long list of crimes is following these organizations. Any chemical provocations in Syria, including in Doom event, was committed with a preliminary work with the special forces of Great Britain and the United States for the global community, where they appear, they are followed by dramatic events. In order to put a shame on legitimate Syrian government and member states of the United Nations. And this is what was rejected for many years by the Western countries, claiming that probably President Obama, former President Obama, said that Assad should go, but Assad just there and doing a lot in order to reanimate, revive the Syrian state, especially in the light what has been committed by these White Helmets. They also got poisoned children in order to get a good picture of this event. So please study this report prepared by the Funds of the Democratic Studies, which is called The Event in Syria, especially with the former employees of this structure, White Helmets, especially those who sympathize with terrorists. Now we hear less as compared with the previous, but because of the actions of their sponsors from British authorities and the United States, they are still working after the elimination of their leader, Lieutenant Colonel Leah Mesuria James. So after his eliminations, after his death in mysterious circumstances, Great Britain continued co-financing these organizations, and for the last 2 years, London transferred £3 million according to the official statistics. But of the count, the number could be even higher with this financial speculation. So the volunteers, in brackets, got through grey schemes, through mediators. Probably it's not possible to say. Probably some archives would have some light on that. So their presence is creating the instability in the territory of Syria, and This is the one of the things that should be rectified in order to improve the situation in this region and in globally. Now, on November 16th, we celebrate the 105th anniversary of the birth of the legendary diplomat, statesman, and scientist Anatoly Dobrynin. He had a glorious diplomatic path for a century to the post of the USSR ambassador to the United States. We published this information on our website. And of course, we are going to celebrate in informational field in this. And on 16th, 17th November, the Russian Geographical Society, with the participation of Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Россотрудничество, is organizing the 10th annual international educational campaign, Geographical Dictation. It is focused on popularization of geographical knowledge and interest in science and natural heritage. More than 10,000 sites around the world have already joined this large-scale educational campaign this year. In addition to traditional venues such as schools, universities and libraries, religious organizations of various denominations are participating. This diversity shows that the interest in the geography and history of one's native country unites people regardless of their religions and occupation. Among the venues, there is White Sea iceberg combining the intellectual geographical journey, so everyone is invited to participate. Not about the iceberg. These are the graduates of Russian universities, representative of association, compatriots and societies of friendship with Russia. All information is on the website. And on November 20th, we will have the dialogue on 2.0 fakes. This is organized by NGOs dialogue. It was attended by the international experts, academia, in combating with the falsification and fakes on the internet. We believe that would be very interesting event once again, and we are going to take an active part in it. We have something to say it, and for many years we have been holding website Anti-Fake, which contains the false information about Russia with corrections. We had the same types of websites earlier, but not in such scale and even in the light of the information wars, but as a specific genre. This now getting a new phenomenon, and we are holding this website supplemented with new elements, and we published specific materials, articles, and extracts of the information. Today we are going to publish special reviews combining special information publications and present sort of digests of these fakes. But I must say that using this opportunity, we would like to invite all the representatives of mass media, and if some representative of the special editions are tuned to this briefing and they're waiting for us, it would be very interesting to talk to them with the professionals who are specialized on this topic. The reference to the website will be contained in the text of this text. In Ufa, we will have the 20th Forum of Inter-Regional Cooperation between Russia and Kazakhstan. The event is organized by the Ministry of Economic Development of Russia and Government of Republic of Baltic and Ministry of Trade and Integration of Kazakhstan. It is held annually to maintain and develop economic, cultural, and humanitarian ties between two countries. Traditionally, it is attended by representatives of business, scientific, and social circles, ministries, heads of subjects of Russia and Kazakhstan. As a result of the forum in Kostanay last year, 5 inter-regional documents on cooperation were signed, as well as commercial agreements on the production of lifting equipment and food industry in amount of 7.7 billion rubles. A rich business and cultural program awaits the guest of 20th Forum. I'm envious of that. During these 2 days discussions, they would focus on potential of trade and economic cooperations, expansion of interregional ties. UFA knows how to host this event. This time, the hospitality would be at the same level. The exposition of the lifting and heavy gear equipment will be there, and the huge exhibition with various stands will be present. We also provide information on the official portal, so the participants could see the potential of Bashkortostan's and the Forum Youth Entrepreneurship of Russia and Kazakhstan bring together about 300 participants. One of the main cultural events will be a fashion show. The best designers from Russia and Kazakhstan will show their works. They will present clothing lines in national and modern design, and will demonstrate the achievements of this fashion industry. But we will expect another try. I'm referring to a gastronomic festival guest. Have the experience of attending these festivals. The guests could try traditional and author dishes. Please hold on. It would be very delicious for music lovers. The Voice of Friendship of Peoples Festival will be held. For accreditation details, for the media, and everything would be provided in the text of this briefing.
And another, I believe, quite useful information for you as part of the comprehensive state program to promote international cooperation. I would like to tell you about the project Russia with You. It will tell Russians and foreign nationals about the work of the Russian Federation in fostering international development. Россотрудничество is promoting the insignia of this brand among the partner organizations and is using the labels of the humanitarian cargo to promote it abroad and to make it more recognizable. Will also has launched a portal on fostering international development, RussiaForProgress.com, with the map of humanitarian projects and the open access to the brand book Russia Together with You. And we're also, as part of the project, the Volgograd organization, Volgograd Regional Public Organization, the Friendship House, with the support of Россотрудничество, the Russian Emercom, Ministry of Defense, and the Federal Agency for Ethnic Affairs, the Russian Railways. All together, they have supplied humanitarian assistance in crisis zones, and they have supplied more than 100 tons. By following the example of Volgograd, more than 55 regions of Russia have already joined the international humanitarian projects. Humanitarian assistance that is supplied by the Russian Ministry of Emercom have also labeled with the logo Russia Together with You to coordinate the efforts of agencies to promote information about the Russian assistance abroad. Moreover, the branded products Russia with You is spread among partner organizations. For example, it was provided to the participants of the Great African Scientific Expedition initiated by the Russian Fishing Agency. Two research vessels of Russian Fishing Agency, Atlantniro and Atlantida, had that labels. So we have we will provide all the links in the text version of our briefing, so I believe it's quite a useful and interesting information for you. And I would like to make some announcement about our information work. We continue to expand our digital diplomatic family. Before the first ministerial conference of the Russia-Africa Partnership Forum was organized, we have launched the Telegram channel of the Russian Foreign Ministry in French. Now, our friends, primarily from Africa, like-minded countries and people all over the globe, and those who have genuine interest in Russian positions and key issues of global agenda can acquire credible and impartial information about the Russian foreign policy, to read and to watch remarks and statements of the leadership of our country and of our ministry without distortions and paraphrase, so they could provide information directly, and they can avoid the paraphrase by the biased mainstream French media. They can avoid now artificial barriers and the Western censorship. The Telegram channel of the Russian Foreign Ministry now exists in the French language, and we will provide information about rich culture, achievements of our country and beauties of our beautiful country, apart from covering issues of the international agenda. Please subscribe, bienvenue, and again, you'll find a link in the text version of the briefing. I would like to speak on one topic in particular, and I would like to speak to journalists, those who are listening to our briefing online and those who are going to read our briefing later. And this is the announcement for the journalist communities, unions, associations in general. UNESCO Secretariat and Director General Azoulay continue to ostentatiously ignore the crimes of Kiev regime committed against Russian journalists, including targeted killings, terrorist acts, and attempted murders. We are outraged by another draft report. Again, it's a draft report that was presented by the Director General of UNESCO, and it will be submitted to the International Program of Communications Development on November 21st, 22nd in Paris. This report was made out of some information and data, but these reports and this information is biased, and we know where it comes from politically biased Western or pro-Western non-governmental organizations. The report totally ignores the killings of Russian media workers, and it doesn't reflect the real situation with the security and safety of journalists and the issue of impunity for crimes committed against mass media workers. The methodology of the report is quite controversial because it has biased criteria that allow to determine what journalists killed journalists should be praised or shouldn't be praised. How is it even possible? So, for example, if a Western journalist was killed, then he deserves to be mentioned by Ms. Azoulay, but maybe a journalist from another country is killed, then he shouldn't be mentioned. The statistics in the report says that in the period between 2022-2023, no Russian journalist was killed. You have no shame, Ms. Azoulay. In this situation, you have no intellect. How dare you present this document to the international community? We regret that over the period of the report period, Daria Dugina, Vladlen Tatarsky, Oleg Lokov, Rostislav Zhuravlev, Maxim Maksudov were killed. The Russian journalist Rostislav Zhuravlev, whose killing Ms. Azule has commented, but she didn't condemn, but just regretted his killing. His name was added to the list of killed Ukrainian journalists. UNESCO has ignored the official list of persecutions and killings of Russian journalists. The geographic and political bias have affected not only Russia, but many other countries. I would like to support and to defend not only Russian journalists, but I would like to speak about all those who were ignored by Ms. Azule because they represent other countries. They have downplayed the number of Arab journalists that died as a result of indiscriminate attacks of Israel against Palestine in 2023. I'm talking about 24 journalists. At the end of 2023, 97 violent murders were recorded of foreign journalists. Unreliable fake information was provided. The report has become an instrument of spreading disinformation. The Director General should bear the full responsibility for this. She has received a countless number of reports and requests about the crimes committed by the Kiev regime against journalists, but now we see that she deliberately, it wasn't an accident, she deliberately didn't add these journalists in her report. Such actions, but well, rather inactions, have a negative effect on the situation in the organization itself. It provokes the politicization, polarization of opinions, and actually the UNESCO steps away from its own mandate because it steps away from its distinctness in the UNESCO's charter and resolutions, condemnations of the killing of journalists. The organization is undermining its own founding pillars of work. What has been developed for decades, Ms. Azule is ready to sacrifice it to opportunistic interests of the bloody Kiev regime that is so protected by Western countries. I remember when the times when such reports were mentioned in the statements and press releases, when they mentioned journalists when have become victims of everyday crimes, and there was no opportunity to say that there was a fight which has nothing to do with the professional occupation of a journalist. But even if they said that a journalist went out of the cafe and had a quarrel with someone else, but since this person was a journalist, this person should be protected anyway. Dozens of people over the past year have died holding their microphone and camera in their hands. They weren't just media workers, and they've just fulfilled their duties. They understand that they risk their life, but nonetheless they were ready to risk their life to show the true information. UNESCO, its Secretariat and its Director General has all the information, but they prefer to disregard it, and they are doing that on the national basis. The connection is clear and evident. which nullifies the mandate of UNESCO and makes us question if Ms. Azoulay should head such organization. It is the racist approach of the Director General of UNESCO, and we cannot tolerate it. We are going to elaborate our tough position at the next meeting of UNESCO, as well as at other relevant activities of UNESCO. We will raise this question, and now I'm ready to answer your question. International Live, please. Hello. Over the past week, the head of the Polish Bureau of National Security, Jacek Sewera, in his interview